Hi, I'm Angie Veman, and welcome to Totally Clutch. This is the podcast for women like you to find ways to simplify your business and personal life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. All right, welcome back to another episode of Totally Clutch. This is the Clutch Businesses podcast and vlog. Today, we are going to talk about business finances, so getting that money stuff in order. And I guess I'm curious before we get started, if you are curious or if you've ever wondered what cats have to do with finances and specifically business finances. And maybe you haven't been curious, but now you certainly are. And the answers is actually really easy. So our guest today, Gigi Bier, is the founder of My Cats and Me, and she is 100% all about the catnip. And catnip in her world is complete abundant transformation by nurturing intentional profit. And that's a mouthful, but it sounds like exactly what I need in my life. And hopefully you do too. Actually, I shouldn't say hopefully you do, but if you do, awesome. This is the show for you today. So what Gigi does is she puts money systems in place in businesses so that they're profitable. And she's also a huge advocate. And this is, I think, something really, really important for smaller businesses. She's a huge advocate for owners paying themselves first, not just paying themselves, which is a huge step in and of itself, but paying themselves first. So let's hear more about that. So welcome to the show, Gigi.
Thank you for having me. I'm very, very happy to be here with you today.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we are very lucky to have you today for so many different reasons. One, I think the topic is your work is incredible and so important to businesses. And two, you're just really fun. And so I'm super excited to talk with you.
Thank you. Yes, I feel that one of the things is that money and finances always feel very heavy and very unfun. And that's where a lot of business owners, especially when you're starting, but honestly, any level of business, they kind of trip because they feel it's so overwhelming, it's so difficult, it's so boring. So they just don't look at it, right? But I feel that money is fun because it allows us to do a lot of things. And finances is not that complicated because our business finances, when we look at that with a place of curiosity, it's actually telling us a story. And if we are like, oh, I don't like the story, you can change things to change the future of that story, right? But if it's working, if you're happy, you can just keep, repeating the same systems and things you've been doing because that's been working for you. So it's fun. It's not overwhelming. I think there's a lot of gurus out there that makes it feel like complicated. It makes it feel like a lot of like scarcity around it, especially if you're in a stage that you're not generating the revenue you would like to generate, or that you're being heavy on investments. It can be a little bit unfun. But if you look from a curiosity standpoint and writing the story of your business, everything changes and things can be fun.
Yeah, that's totally music to my ears. So I am not, from a money standpoint, not super comfortable in terms of, making sure that I've got all of the things in order that I need to have in order. But I think the same thing about like numbers in business. So analytics and that can be like website analytics and stuff like that. But just, looking at kind of where money is coming from, what things are doing well and what levers you can pull. And that's, any business I go into, it's always astonishing to me that so I always want the numbers almost immediately. I want to be able to see them because I tell myself the same thing, that it tells the story. It's not the only story, but it certainly tells part of the story that you can use to then dig a little bit deeper. And what's surprising to me is that almost always, I shouldn't say almost always, a good percentage of the time, the business owners don't even have those numbers. And it's not that they're, it's not like Shark Tank style where they don't have it like off the top of their head immediately, but they don't even have a way to figure out what those things are, what those numbers are. It's always shocking.
Yes, I love that you're saying that because I cannot tell you for all these years that I've been in business, how many people came to me and they were like, I want to reach 6 figures, so I need your help to get organized. And once I organized their finances, they were already a 6-figure business.
Yeah. Oh my
They
gosh,
just
that's
didn't know.
amazing.
They just didn't know. So I feel, and when I said that, they were like, no way, I don't have money. I haven't been paying myself. And I was like, yes, because you're circulating that money, because you're not being intentional, because you didn't know. Now we
Yeah.
take a step back and we figured out how we're going to do it. Right. So I
Wow.
think that if you don't know, you don't know. So you can have all the goals you want, but you have no idea if you reach it or not. So
Yeah. Wow.
a
If
lot.
that's not inspirational to get your money in order, I don't know what is. That's awesome. Is that generally okay? So you started out saying that people are kind of overwhelmed or they don't think that finances or, their business finances are fun. Is that what most people get wrong about business finances?
Um, yes, I feel that thinking that it's hard and overly complicated and that you need to use a certain system. When you're starting, you need to use the money system that works for you. I had clients that they used to do a paper ledger, literally go to Home Depot and buy an accounting ledger. And they used to manually add their income and their expenses and things like that. The reason why is that they didn't, QuickBooks Online and automated systems were a little bit overwhelming to them. They didn't like spreadsheets. And when I asked, what do you like? They were like, I like planners. I like pens and washi tape and all the good stuff. I was like, so try a paper planner, try a paper
Yeah.
ledger. And they did. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And they automatically felt empowered and were like, oh, this is not that complicated and this is not that boring. And, I can put my stickers when I reach my goals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That works, obviously, if you're multiple 6-figure business. That's not going to work for you because you have too many transactions. You're going to spend like too many hours doing that. But at this stage, you can outsource it, right? So I feel that having that mindset of it's one way or the highway, this is the only system that work, or I'm just starting, so I don't need to worry about that right now.
Mhm.
All those things is almost like, is this a business or is it a hobby? Because if it's a business from day one, you are tracking everything that you put in your business and you're tracking everything that is, getting out of your business. And, and I feel I work with mainly female and non-binary entrepreneurs. And there is that thing where they say, I'm sorry, that women are not good with money numbers,
Yeah.
right? Numbers like is for men. Like boys do that, women do whatever. Women do like, history and whatsoever. And men is mathematics, engineering, and all of that. And that is not the truth because, we can be good with money. And one of the things is that my background, I graduated in college from hospitality and hotel management.
Mhm.
And we did have a little accounting at college. And I was actually very good at it. It was like the class that I was the best at. And I never thought I was good with numbers because mathematics and science in general at school, I was terrible at.
Yeah.
Because it's not math, it is mathematics. You're adding and subtracting, but it's more intuitive than that. And my brain is very squiggly, so I don't have a logical brain. My brain don't go to A, B to C. My brain goes to A to Z and then E. Like my brain's all over the place. And what I say to everybody that comes across me and say like, oh, I'm bad with numbers, I'm like, if I taught myself how to do this, and I literally have a business where I help other people do the same, you can do it.
Yeah.
Because I was not born with the gift of being good with money. It was a skill that I developed, and anyone can develop. You don't need to develop to the level that I did, that my business is based on that, but you can develop enough that when you look at your business finances, you're like, oh, yeah, I understand. And when you're outsourcing, it's very, very important for you to know what is going on and ask questions, right? Because a lot of people also came to me that they were outsourcing their bookkeeping and they were ready either to sell their business or for taxes. And they're like, my tax accountant cannot make sense of this.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, okay, let me look. Yes, because it's unorthodox, right? How it's tracking is a little bit off. So because they were not asking questions, they were not able to get the data that they needed to actually make decisions, and therefore like sell their business or therefore file their taxes with the best tax strategy, because things were like a little bit wonky. So it's like, when you have that foundation and when you start your business, is the best way to get the foundation, because it's a little bit less overwhelming because it's less volume. So having that, it helps you in the long run, because then you're capable of identifying return of investment. You're able to identify what is a sunk expense and what is actually an investment in your business. And it sounds like small and it sounds silly, but it's so impactful for the longevity of your business. Whatever the longevity you want it to be, you want it to be a legacy for your family, you want to set up a business for sale, it doesn't really matter. But knowing your finances and having that foundation of understanding enough to be dangerous at will help you when you're starting your business to make sure that you're profitable. And then once you outsource, it helps you being a little bit more, analytic and be able to use data and your intuition to make decisions.
Yeah. Wow. That's really, there's so much in that. There's so many important things to pull from that. And I think I guess the one thing that is striking to me is that so a lot of the people that I've talked to, a lot of clients and potential clients, the money is always the thing that they want control over, that they don't feel comfortable and don't even feel like it's an option actually to outsource it, to give it to somebody else. Because if they don't have control of that and something goes sideways, that's, that obviously has a huge impact on their livelihood, on the livelihood of any of their team, all of that kind of stuff. But I also see it as an opportunity for them to kind of hold themselves back, because if they've already collected that money, there's, yes, it's important. I'm not saying, don't look at it, don't be cautious with it. But the real work is, if they're focusing on that, at some point, they're either going to get burnt out because they're going to be focusing on maintaining the money that they already have, and trying to generate additional revenue or, additional clients and customers and all of those types of things. And so by having to focus on what they've already collected, they're kind of pulling themselves away from, continuing to build that funnel, I guess. Are there any, do you have any insight into kind of releasing people from that burden?
I love that you mentioned that, because people usually come to me in end of spectrums, right? So one is the one, like you said, that is making money but cannot outsource it because it feels like the money is slipping through their fingers. They have like a $50K launch, and then the next month they make $0. And they're like, oh my God, that's why I cannot hire people. My income is not consistent. That's why I cannot pay myself. And it becomes the storyline, right? Those are the people that pay themselves leftovers and are very overworked because they're always in the cycle of feast to famine. And in a way that it can be small amounts or it can be huge amounts. Like you have people that have 100K months and then the next month they're in the negative. You're like, what is going on? And then you have the other spectrum that are what I call the money circulators, that they get money in and they put it out. So like, oh, a client signed a 10K contract with me, so I'm going to pay 10K to this coach that I want to work with. Like they're always circulating. So you have the ones that are the accumulators and the ones that are the circulators. And what I feel is it's finding your tolerance level and pushing a little bit, right? So if you are one person that you're very afraid of outsourcing, of bringing people in your team because you don't know what's going to happen, stretch a little bit. Like hiring a bookkeeper it can be very inexpensive. It can be very expensive, depending on what kind of services you're having. But if you go to like the Collective or Lendio, that are like online systems that they do the bookkeeping for you, it's going to be under $300, right?
Mm.
So that is something that you can budget and you can do it. And that automatically will give you more ownership on the flows of your money, the
Mm-hmm.
money coming in, the money coming out. For those that are the accumulators, what I always say is also think about investments you're losing because you're not willing to spend money.
Mm.
Is there a coaching program that you want to join? Is there a mastermind that you want to join? Is there somebody that you want to hire for a project that you're not doing because you're like, I cannot do this. I can do it myself. Why I'm going to pay somebody $3,000 to do something on Canva for me when I can do it myself?
Right.
But then you're spending a week doing that, and the other person is their son of genius, right? And the other thing is start paying yourself. Accumulators pay themselves leftovers, and you're not spending money, and their tolerance level is very low for their bank account. So their bank account always needs to be above a threshold. So like if my bank account is under $10,000, they start to get, hypervigilant. Like they have a panic attack pretty much. They get very anxious and they're like, oh my God, I'm poor. Let's push that tolerance level by doing a cash flow forecast. Like, what is the money you know is coming in? So you can spend $500 in a bookkeeper. And things along those lines.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I know that you touched on this a little bit, but so you work within the Profit First method with your clients. Can you share with us a little bit about what that model is?
So Profit First, it was a system invented by Mike Michalowicz, and he pretty much went to bankruptcy. And he said, there must be another way of managing my finances, right? He had like a very successful business that went bankrupt. So he was like, how come my accountant is telling me that I owe money for taxes and I don't have that money in my bank account? And by the way, this is a book that I recommend every entrepreneur reading because it's pretty much managing your finances with percentages. Because when we start our business, sometimes we think, oh, I need to pay myself $2,000 every month. The hard dollar amount can be overwhelming if you have seasonal income and if your income fluctuates a little bit. So doing percentages feels a little bit more abundant and a little bit more easy, right? So the system goes from the assumption that we have an accounting. In accounting, we say that revenue minus expenses equal profit. But everything that we put last in our lives, we're not going to pay attention to. So what we're doing with this, accounting equation is putting our profit last. So what the system does is revenue minus profit equals expenses. So you make sure that your business is always turning a profit. And how it works, the management is we open bank accounts. So we have our profit account, we have our tax savings account, we have our owner's compensation account, and we have our operating expenses account. And the operating expenses account, you can break down to as many accounts as you want if you need to have a little bit more insight on everything. Like if you want to have a marketing, payroll account, and stuff like that. And how it works is it works with our human behavior to manage your money. When we log into our online bank on our phone and we see, oh, I have $50,000 on my bank account. You can say, oh, I have $50,000 to spend. But with Profit First, because we have the several bank accounts, you're going to see, oh, I have $20,000 on my tax savings account. I have $1,000 on my profit account. I have this much money that I'm paying myself, and then I have the rest for operating expenses. So it almost helps us run a lean business model, but also help us set ourselves up for success in the future. And
it's awesome. I love the mindset shift of it all. It's so great.
Yeah. And I tell my clients, like, I know that a lot of people are like, oh, Mike is a dude from New Jersey. And it can feel like very like bro for some people. But I mean, he's very far from being that kind of person. But what I feel is that profit first, once you embody the system and you get into the rhythm, is a system that teaches you to put yourself first. Because what I'm doing is I get my income, I save money for my profit account. That is like an account that I can pay myself a bonus every quarter or do whatever I want with the money. I'm saving money for my taxes. That is my obligation. And I'm paying myself. And then everything else comes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once you embody that, you go like, oh, what is that I need to do today to fill my cup? Oh, I need to meditate, go for a walk. So I feel that when we're talking about like money and money mindset, the thing is our money mindset will show up in every other aspect of our lives. It's our relationships. It's what we perceive to be truth about ourselves. Everything goes back because mindset is this whole bucket. When we're talking about money mindset, we're talking about this small bucket in this big array of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So what I feel is that profit first is very important, especially when you're starting your business, to get into the rhythm of developing that intimate relationship with your money, where you're tracking your income, you're tracking your investments, and you're paying yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's $10 or $10,000 or $100,000. I don't care how much it is, but the fact that you're getting money from your business account transferring to your personal account, it shifts, and we start having like that embodiment of this is a real business. Mm-hmm. And if I want to make more money, I need to treat this as a real business. So let me look at my numbers and see pricing, see my investments. Are my investments really investments, right? I don't really call expenses because I think that everything we're spending money in our business should give us something in return, right? Yeah. So if you have your Calendly or Acuity, it's giving you back time and actually giving like this kind of, professional look that people want to book a call with you. They click in the link and they're able to do it themselves instead of exchanging 10 emails.
Right.
That is already an investment because it's giving me peace of mind. So like that's how I see things. And and with Profit First, it's very easy because there's so many things that we're spending money that we don't need in our business. Yeah. I love courses. So I have a gazillion of courses. Once I got familiar with Profit First and I first implemented for myself, and then I saw the transformation. So I seek the certification so I could work with that with my clients. I was like, why am I buying like all those courses that I have a million courses on the same subject already? Mm-hmm. So now I have a list of my courses by subject, and I'm like, somebody's launching something new. Do I need this? Yes, I do. Okay, let me buy it. Do I need this? No, I have one that is exactly the same. So that's not going to be an investment because I'm not going to finish the course because I'm going to start watching, like, I know this already. So it gives you like almost like that sense of sufficiency. Mm-hmm. And making decisions from abundance instead of making decisions from fear and scarcity.
Yeah, I love it. It's for so many reasons. I love it. One, I love that. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs get to the place of burnout because they don't have that consistent, it becomes about money at some point when they're not paying themselves a consistent income. And like you said, it doesn't have to be a significant amount, but if you don't know, if it reaches the end of the month and you don't know if you're going to, if that check is going to come that you thought was, or right, like that, there's so much that contributes or so many additional challenges that contributes to in your life if you can't depend on that consistent income, whatever it is. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs reach that point of burnout because they are stressed financially. It's almost like, they're living in trauma for, however long they're in business, because things are unraveling behind the scenes, right, for them personally. So I love that part of it. And I also love looking at the revenue minus the profit equals the expenses. There's something I love that you're intentional about the expenses, but I also love there's something about a mindset shift that happens when you look at your revenue minus your profit, because it changes. For me, at least, it changes the way that I think about it. It's not, here's the money that I have available to me. It's really like, how much money do I want to be making? Like, what do I want those numbers to say? And what do I want to walk away with at the end of everything? Because it is easy to let those things go, to say, well, and I also think I see this in a lot of entrepreneurs too, that they feel like they can't make investments in their business. They can't, and you've said this too, like they can't afford to hire somebody. They can't afford that platform. They can't afford marketing expenses. And when you look at it and say, well, actually to run, I think, there aren't a lot of conversations. Maybe people are thinking this, but there aren't a lot of conversations out there about, you actually do have to spend a certain amount of money in certain categories in your business to grow, to be successful, to be profitable. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs approach it from the standpoint of just, it's almost always an automatic, I don't have the money. I can't do that. I can't make that investment. And it ends up keeping them small. And, they have all of this potential that they're just kind of letting pass by because they aren't making those intentional investments.
Yes. I love so many things that you said, because I feel that, so like my framework is CATNIP, but the foundation is what I call the 3 M's, right? It's mindset, monetization, and money systems. And I think that the first thing is the mindset, right? I think it's fine if you want to be a show of one and if you want to keep small. If that is your definition of success, if you're living your dream life, if you're not worry financial, if you have like financial freedom, financial peace of mind, if you have all the freedoms that you want, time freedom or whatsoever, that's totally fine. So keep doing that, right? Nothing wrong. But if you want to grow and scale, you're going to need to stretch your tolerance level, right? You need to do things that you're very uncomfortable with. And that is mindset. Because you're not going to get from where you are if you're not looking inward and say like, why am I afraid of this? Am I afraid of growing because I'm afraid of being visible? Because when I was a child, I was told that I was not funny enough, or that I was not smart enough, or that I was not pretty enough. All these personal stories for me. But like, that is what we need to look into, right? It's like, why am I afraid of stepping out a little bit? What are the stories that I'm carrying with me that, 99.99% of the time are not true?
Right.
And you need to work on. The next step is monetization. And now we're talking about offers and pricing. If you don't price your services and your products for profit, you're never going to be profitable. You can sell 1 unit, 1 million units, you're still not going to be profitable. So looking into your offers, the customer journey, what is available, and look into the price points. What is the price that is mechanically profitable, but also what is the price that feels good to me? Because if you don't feel good about your price, nobody will feel good about your price.
Yeah.
And that price can be $1 or $1 million. Nobody's going to buy if you're not like, yeah, this price is like the correct energetic exchange for this service. And then we go to the money systems to make sure that you're tracking and that you're managing your money in a way that is intentional. And then profit first because you're managing your money based on percentages, it's very easy for you to just it's very easy for you to set up sales goals. Because if I'm paying myself 40% of my sales and I want to pay myself $10,000, I know I need to make X amount of dollars every month. And then you go back to your offers and you see the structure, you see the customer journey, you see the prices, and then you have the clarity of what needs to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then furthermore, like we were saying, like people say, like, I don't have money, I want to do marketing, ads, whatever, but I don't have the money, I don't have the money. When in doubt, open an account. Open a bank account and call it marketing investments and start transferring 1% of your sales to that account.
Mm-hmm.
A year from now, you're going to have your marketing money and you're going to be able to invest on things without that fear of, I need to have the immediate return of investment, because sometimes the results are not immediate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you like the peace of mind of making investments in a way that you're making investments from this place of abundance and expansion, instead of from this place of, this is what I have to do, but I'm very afraid. Because when we make those decisions based on fear and fear and fear, the results are never as positive as it would be if we're making the decisions from the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge. I love it so much. I'm thinking of a conversation I had with somebody a couple of weeks ago that's getting into consulting, and they wanted to, they were curious about how to start pricing their services. And I was like, I don't know if this is how this is going to go over with you. But I said, I take a very, I guess now it's becoming a more common approach, but it still feels a little bit like uncommon and a little unconventional. And I was like, so first I got real clear on what my value was, like that I have worth, that I have something that can benefit people, and that that can truly benefit them, and something that I enjoy. So I got real clear on that. And then I looked at what kind of lifestyle I want to be living, and what kind of income I want, and how many hours I want to be working in order to acquire that income, and all of those types of things. And I was like, and that's how I set my prices is based on those things. And then, I check it against the market to make sure that, like you're saying, I'm not charging $1 million for something that they're only going to get, a $200 return on or something like that. But, it's just a very different way, but it's so freeing and so fulfilling.
Yes.
And sustainable.
Yes. And I feel that, like, in the online space, we get very drawn with what I call the vanity numbers. So everybody's talking about their sales numbers. Nobody's talking about their profitability.
Yeah.
And sales numbers don't mean, it means like, I celebrate a lot of people sharing their sales numbers, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I have a lot of discernment in not comparing my business with their business. I know my overhead. It's very small. I run a very lean business at this point because this is what I want, right? And those people, they're not running lean teams. They have teams, they have overhead, they have sometimes office spaces, and all those things that, you have to have discernment, because there's a lot of business that are, in the low six figures that are more profitable than $1 million businesses. And putting that in perspective help us take a step back and stop chasing the money and making the decisions of, oh, I don't really love this offer, but I know it makes money, so I'm going to keep offering. You can step away from that and say, what is really my zone of genius? What is that, like, lights me up when I do that? And what is that the correct exchange for that, energetic exchange for that? So you're able to do things a little bit outside of the box and different than most of your peers are doing. And that's what differentiates you, right? So when we stop chasing certain things and we stop chasing those things, because now we have this sense of self-empowerment. I understand my finances. I can celebrate others without comparing, because I know my numbers, I know my profitability, I know what's working, and I know what's not working. So you have all the tools to move your business forward and really grow and expand in the way that feels good to you. So I feel having that that sense of uniqueness in your business, and really know that my business is not every other business. It's mine and it's unique, and I can do things my own way. I don't need to follow this checklist or this framework from this person because it worked for them. I need to find what works for me. And that comes first and foremost from understanding your money, understanding your finances.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. There was something that came to me as you were saying that, and I know that, I'm trying to be conscious of the time, but there was something that you said that made me realize that the amazing thing about profit first. So I come from, my background is in retail. And so margin is like, I'm not going to say it's my love language, but it is like, the main language that I am speaking. And you're right, in this online world, that's just not revenue is the focus and not that profitability. And so, it is surprising how many people are not looking at that, or at least talking about it. And so what I love about Profit First is that it kind of creates guardrails, or like it's almost like bumper bowling for folks, that it ensures that you are going to be profitable instead of just and really intentional. And I guess I'm just kind of repeating everything that you've said, but that visual was so strong for me of like it's kind of amazing, because you don't really it's just you are thinking about it, but it almost, how do I want to say this? It feels like you can't not think about it. So it's not like you're thinking about it really hard. It just becomes like a natural part of the way that you make decisions in your business, and the way that you make decisions about yourself and your life. And that just, it feels really comforting and really safe in a lot of ways. Yes. When a lot of times those decisions become, are really overwhelming, like you said, and, can kind of stifle us.
Yes. And I love that you said that, because what I feel is like profit first. And I'm into a lot of different things. So I'm very into like the woo-woo, the mindset, human design, and all those things that are a little bit more holistic and intuitive. And I do believe in making decisions from intuition, but sometimes we can mistake intuition with fear, right? Like, oh, I want to do this investment because I'm afraid of missing out. I'm afraid that I'll not be successful if I don't invest on this. And whatever else. By understanding your finances, and when you really like embody, I say like Profit First is a system to be embodied. It's not just bank accounts, because when you embody it, you actually start focusing on what is important to you. And that is the best way that you can serve your clients and nourish them from a place of being content. And using your intuition to make money decisions. I had somebody come to me recently and said, I don't like Profit First because it feels like scarcity mindset. I need to look at my bank account, and that's the only money I have available. The first thing that I think is like they don't really understand the system. Yeah. And they think that Profit First is going to be your accounting system. It's not. It's a money management tool. You have your accounting system that you're tracking income and expenses and all the good stuff. You have your money management system, and then you have a cash flow forecast. Because let's say I have $5,000 in a professional development account, and I want to work with a coach that is $8,000, let's say. I'm going to look at my account and I'm going to say, I don't have the money. But then I look at my cash flow forecast and I say, oh, I have this 5 clients that are on payment plans and they are paying me next month. And I know that once the money hits my bank account, I'm going to have the extra $3,000 on my professional development account. Therefore, I can spend this money. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is seeing the return of investment of that investment, right? If I'm doing marketing strategy, like ads, for instance, maybe I have a budget of $2,000. And I'm like, but once the money is gone, it's gone because that's all the money I have available. But what is the return of investment of that visibility from the ads? What is it like a self-liquidating offer that actually you're going to get all that money back? And then they have a bump offer that you can make a little bit money extra. And then you have an email nurture sequence that will qualify people to work one-on-one with you. All those things, when you start like putting it together and really understanding it, that's when you can use your intuition to make the right decisions based on the data that you have. That is not just your bank account, it's not just your accounting system, but it's a combination of several things that you're using to understand the story your money is telling.
Yeah, I mean, it's really encouraging you to make the most of everything that you've got instead of it being a scarcity thing. It's more, I mean, to me, what I hear in that is that if you're going to take out ads, I mean, don't think about it as you're just going to spend money. You're spending money to make money. And so you're going to make sure that those ads are returning in the way that you want instead of, what often happens where you just say, I'm going to allot this amount of money to my ads. I'm going to let them run and then see what happens. It's like, no. Obviously you need some time to test it and for it to get traction, but like you can start pulling some levers if you're not getting anything in return. And so if you've only got this amount of money, you're going to pay attention and you're going to make sure that you're getting something back from that.
Yeah. It's all about being intentional, right?
Yeah.
And I think that with money, we don't really think about intentionality, but that is what makes or break it, because like I'm being intentional about paying myself. I'm being intentional about the investments I'm doing. I'm being intentional in reviewing those investments and see if it's worked. Like I talk a lot about ads because I feel it's such an easy, relatable example, right? Like if you're doing ads and they're not converting, maybe you need to change the copy. Maybe you need to change the image. Maybe instead of a still image, you're going to put a video. All of those things are metrics that you're only able to get if you're looking at the results, right? You have the input and you have the output. If you don't like the output, you must change the input. And I think that money in business is the output.
Yeah.
So if we don't understand the input, we're never going to be able to change that. And another thing that I like telling people, especially people that are very fearful of looking at their money, people that might have like a little bit of debt and stuff like that, is ignoring your money is not going to change your current situation. It's like if you have a garden and you see weeds, and instead of like doing weed treatment, whatever it is that people do, you just close the blinders so you don't see it. Next time you open the blinders, it's going to be full of weeds. Your garden's going to be full of weeds, nothing else, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happened when we don't look. And where you are today is the residual of decisions you made in the past. So if you don't like where you are today, you need to change those decisions. You need to change those actions. And I guarantee that you're going to have a different result next time you look backwards, right? Next time you're like, oh, look where I am. You're going to look back and like, yeah, those are completely different decisions, slightly different decisions. So don't get attached with where you are today and have that as your identity, because you can change if you start changing your actions.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Okay, along those lines, can you tell us about, I'm going to put it up on the screen, but we'll also put a link to it in, any of the copy around this recording. Tell us about the free offering that you have on your website, because I think it ties really nicely into this.
Yes, it's the Sacred Money Archetype. So we pretty much have 8 money archetypes. And they really are pretty much how our relationship with money looks like, right? Like it's our gifts and our challenges. And there is something so empowering in understanding what your gifts are but also understanding your hindsight, like what are the things that I'm not thinking. So like for me, and we focus on the top 3 archetypes. For me, they are celebrity, romantic, and alchemist. No money coach that I know have those 3 because they're very like, I love spending money. So I always tell my clients, like, you have permission to spend money as long as intentional, right? Like in the hindsight is that I can overspend very quickly because I love spending money, but I also know my capability of making money. So for me, it's almost like, yeah, I can spend money to make money, but sometimes I need to stop and go like, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's be intentional and look at everything. And one archetype that I see a lot is the accumulator. So there are people that are very good in saving money. So for them, understanding that is their gift. They're very good in saving money. They're very good in creating financial security for themselves and for the people around them. But also they're losing a lot of opportunities because they're not spending money. So how can we look at opportunities as investments instead of expenditures? And little things like, oh, I'm feeling a little stiff, so let me go get a massage. For me, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to get mani-pedi, a massage, a facial. Somebody that is an accumulator, they will say like, I don't need that. I can just like rub my neck. I'm going to ask my partner to rub my neck and that'll be fine. No, go get the massage. That is an investment for your body, for you to feel better about yourself and move forward, right? So like our little things like that. And I think that the sacred money archetypes is a way of getting real in alignment with your money decisions and also your business decisions. So you make decisions based on alignment instead of basing what shoulds or, I should do this, I have to do this, and so forth.
That's great. That's amazing. And people can find that on your website, and they can find that along with all the other information about how to work with you and all the special offerings you have.
Yes.
Yeah. Gigi, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I think it's so huge and so important. And I mean, your insight is like infinite and inspiring. So thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be able to share. I'm very passionate about money and building wealth for everyone in the way that feels good for each person. And I know that my way is not everybody's way. So I love sharing so people feel that they have the tools to find their own way of building wealth.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I mean, this I already know is going to give people that ability. It was, just chock full of information. So thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you're notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with all of your friends. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you're leaving with some great things that can help you move from hustle to flow, because I believe in you and your business. Until next time.